and the ministry. Can you fly the agenda for the meeting? Yeah, here's the agenda, honorable members. Is there any addition to the agenda? If none, can we have a mover for adoption of this agenda?
Ndungeni Chair moves for the agenda. Morning, Chair. Morning,
Any-
recording.
Any
The list of members who are currently present.
I second, Honorable Chair, it's Nkosi, and good morning and to you all. Thank you.
Okay, very good morning to you. We meeting today with the Department of Science and Innovation. Are there apologies? Any apologies for this? For the meeting? Those who are not going to be able to attend? And they are
Good morning, Chairperson. Utimana Mela here.
DM, good morning.
Good morning. Yeah, I think, Chair, just as I indicated, I just logged on now. I was trying to get to find the login details for that, so I've just logged on now. And I think, as per the discussion I had with you, I'd really like to be released, and I'll be in and out of the meeting. We have a student protest taking place today, and also the budget vote later the afternoon. So now and then I'll be going in and out of the meeting just to attend to those. So my apologies, Chairperson.
No, you're welcome, DM. The DG will be in the meeting on other managers. The management.
Yes, definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, you join regardless of all the pressures that we all know that there's going to be these plans all that. We understand to get out of them. The agenda even been
Chairperson,
Good morning, Chair.
Pepe,
Noltando, I can hear you.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, honorable members, DM, and everyone present in the meeting. I've got two other apologies, Chair. One apology from the minister. He won't be able to join us today due to cabinet commitments. And he's also going to table budget vote 17 to this afternoon, and therefore he's preparing for that. And also, Chair, I've got an apology from Honorable Lehihi. She is joining us in the meeting, but she's asking to be excused early due to personal commitments. Thank you, sir.
Thanks a lot. I think the apologies are clear. Mosi, you had your hand up. Your hand is up.
yes, my hand is up, Chair. I would like to be excused as well at 11:15. Reason being, I'm briefing my province regarding the fundraising amendment bill at 11 o'clock. Thank you very much, Chair.
You're welcome. That is understood. You'll be released that time. Just log off that time when that time time comes. Just log out.
Thank you, Chair.
Meeting. Yeah, honorable members, I think to because we're going to have a very short day today with the pressures. Let's just go straight into the presentation. DM, will you take us through the presentation, you and the DG?
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and I really want to thank you for your indulgence. Actually, the Minister is unable to attend because he's now at Cabinet, but I think over and above that, the budget vote speech that we're delivering later today. But just to thank the opportunity, Chairperson and members of the Portfolio Committee, for us to brief you on the Department of Science and Innovation annual performance plan, which would basically address the pillars of the National Development Plan, which guides the work of the department, and also what our apex priorities are for the term 2019 to 2024, which is this administration, but also extend to issues around budget prioritization towards the priorities for this year, and the gender response planning, budgeting, monitoring, evaluation, and auditing framework. And then it will also cover some commitments that the President made at the State of the Nation address and the mandate of the DSI expressed on the 2019 white paper on science, technology, and innovation, and also the decadal plan, strategic plan. So that's what the DG's presentation will cover on. So with your permission, Chair, I would like to hand over to the DG and the team to commence with the presentation. Thank you very much for your indulgence, Chairperson.
You're welcome, DM. The DG can take us through the report.
Yes, thanks very much, Chairperson. I'll also try and see if I can load the presentation. I hope I'll be allowed, otherwise somebody could. On my screen, it's showing. I hope you can see it on your side.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. So again, as the Deputy Minister has indicated, we welcome always the opportunity to come and share with yourselves the work that we are doing in the Department of Science and Innovation. So today, the way that we would like to share with the committee is to reflect on the 23-24 annual performance plan. And we will talk about the alignment to the 3 pillars of the NDP, the revised MTSF Apex priorities that we contribute to, and then we will talk about the budget prioritization framework towards 2023 priorities, our response to the request to have a gender responsive planning, budgeting, monitoring, evolution, and auditing framework. And then we'll just highlight some of the contributions to the commitments to SONA, and then we'll talk about the big work that we are planning to do on the implementation of the white paper. So we just want to again remind the committee that 23-24 strategy planning horizon marks the last year of the implementation of the 6th administration and the 4th year of implementation of our medium-term 2020-2025 plan. So the 3 pillars that we are looking at is achieving a more capable state, whether we can contribute to that, driving a strong and inclusive economy, other contributions we can make, and then building and strengthening the capabilities of South Africans through, of course, the skills that we provide. And the department has commitments on 2 of the 7 Apex priorities, priority 2 and 3 of the revised MTSF targets. So again, just to recap, on Apex priority 2, we are supposed to improve competitiveness through ICT adoption, through the increase of the gross expenditure on R&D, that's what GET 4, and also take intellectual property and knowledge that we generate and see whether we can either support industries and or support sectors of the economy. We also invest for accelerated inclusive growth and skills priority plan that are led by the Department of DHET, but we work collaboratively with them on some skills that have been identified. And then we also look at, can we assist industrialization, localization, and exports, and we work with a number of government departments to support the sector master plans that have been developed by those government departments. Agriculture has been one of them. On Apex priority 3, education, skills, and health, expansion of access to post-school education and training opportunities, improve success and efficiency of the PSET system, improving the quality of provisioning with the PSET system, and ensuring that the PSET system are responsive to the needs of industry and society, post-school education and training. On women, youth, and people with disabilities as designated group, we try and have initiatives that are focused on women, youth, and persons with disability. And we are trying now to work on segregation our data at planning level, so we are able to report accurately on our initiatives that are supporting women, youth, and persons with disabilities. On capable, ethical, and development state, we look at innovation in support of a capable state and developmental state, and we also support, and we'll show some examples of how we are approaching our contribution to the district development model. And then we also try and provide timely, accurate, and independent data and information for mega projects. So this is useful for monitoring and evaluation. We also have other priorities that we contribute to. We are working with our colleagues from DCDT in developing a satellite communication strategy that will assist in providing 100% universal broadband. It's a medium to long-term project, but we've started to look at how we can contribute in that strategy. We are also working with our colleagues from health on issues of TB treatment research, better diagnostics, TB therapies, local manufacturing of TB drugs and vaccines. And this year we'll be deepening our vaccine strategy and our TB work that we are doing at mRNA Hub, and then treatment and prevention technologies for HIV, non-communicable diseases, and maternal health. And we also look at innovation technologies, approaches for improving the delivery of basic services in energy, water, sanitation, as well as in roads. On spatial integration, human settlements, and local government priority, we try and provide applications and products for precision agriculture, which helps the farmers not to waste water and fertilizer, human settlement, and where they can be placed using satellite imagery and water bodies information layers. And then we also do demonstrations in partnership with the DMRE to assess the appropriateness of new technologies such as the hydrogen fuel cells. We demonstrated this during COVID, where we had a fuel cell that was running at one military hospital, and we are also working with DMRE to deploy fuel cells in district in KZN Stengel. Provision of information of air quality information, land cover and land use mapping, frequent information on weather patterns and human activities on critical resources such as water, land, and air, all of this is work we're doing with the Space Agency. And then, of course, provide decision support tools, human settlements layer, water bodies, and information. I think we're repeating this. So on SONA commitments, there are two that we are contributing on, the just energy transition, and then on skills development in the digital and technology sector. And then, as we indicated at the beginning, 2019 saw the adoption of the white paper by this government on science, technology, and innovation. And that white paper gives expression to the mandate of the department and has identified 7 objectives and 29 policy intents across 4 of the 7 chapters. This is to have a coherent and inclusive NSI. It's a national system of innovation that is important to drive all of the activities that we do, and enabling an innovation environment in South Africa. How do we create an environment for young people, old people, universities, and everyone to innovate, and then have those innovations being taken to solve societal problems. Increase human capabilities and expanded knowledge enterprise, and then, of course, the financing of the science, technology, and innovation system. So the cabinet approved then the STI Decadal Plan 2021-2031, and the philosophy of this Decadal Plan is the 2 mutually reinforcing objectives, which aim, 1, to deepen the knowledge economy for enhanced socio-economic impact. So on the one hand, we would like to identify areas that we've invested in over the last couple of years and see whether those areas could be pivoted towards making an increased positive impact on our socio-economic and environmental priorities. So we're harvesting the knowledge and investments that were made over time. And then also we want to make sure, of course, that we maintain the equilibrium between this focus on impact, but also to continue to invest in developing and growing the national system of innovation. And there are a number of enablers that have been agreed to by a number of ministers under the leadership of our minister in the IMC. And these enablers include STI budget coordination, where we hope to convince other government departments to earmark resources for science, technology, and innovation. And then that budget is put into one pool, and National Treasury, DPME, and ourselves work towards monitoring that. Innovation and Skills Compact for the future, and for now, and then a strategic management model that defines the roles of the different government departments on how to take innovations to the marketplace. So there are 5 goals of the system in the Decadal Plan. To have an inclusive and a coherent national system of innovation. As I have indicated, it is the engine and the driver that enable us to do all what we would like to do. Expanded and transformed research system, we're really cognizant of the fact that we still have a long way to go in making sure that there is transformation in the research system. We want to increase and future-proof human capabilities. The skills are needed for the economy and for people's well-being, enabling innovation environment, and significantly increase funding for the NSI. But we've also identified certain priorities where we would like to increase our impact as the science, technology, and innovation system. We would like to contribute to modernization of some of the sectors of the economy. We are selecting 3 for now. Manufacturing, we think we need to bring in new tools of manufacturing brought by the 4th Industrial Revolution and other technologies, and we are working with the DTE, Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, to do this. We would like to modernize agriculture. We are working fairly closely with the Department of Agriculture and Land Reform. Mining, we're working with DMRE. We already have a partnership with the Private Sector Mineral Council of South Africa that have put some resources to drive modernization of mining. New sources of growth in digital economy and circular economy. We have invested in these areas before, and we would like to enhance the technologies to digitize the economy. We're doing work at the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, and then circular economy across a number of entities. We also want to increase our health innovation portfolio, the energy portfolio, and then also innovations that enable a capable state, and then also just innovation in support of social progress. We also identified what we call societal grand challenges. That's what SGC stands for, on climate change and environmental sustainability, and how can science contribute to understanding the climate change and how do we mitigate against this. Education of the future and the future of society have also been identified as areas that we need to start thinking about the future now before these things have an impact on us. Society. In implementing, therefore, the white paper on STI, policy interns into DSI planning instruments, we've then looked at amending our 2025 strategic plan and then the 2023-24 APPs as well. Okay, so I just wanted to give you an example of what we mean by modernization of sectors. So this is where we begin to bring in information communication technology-based applications in agriculture. And we have already, as I've indicated, agreed with the Department of Agriculture to introduce some of these digitization technologies and precision tools that include high and volatile, that reduce high and volatile input costs for farming, a delayed detection of crop and animal diseases, outbreaks, and inability to timely access markets. So these are the challenges that we would like to address in this sector. And therefore, we'll be looking at IoT's Internet of Things based on integration of satellites and data from satellites, drones, and sensor technologies that are driving crop monitoring improvement and disease diagnostic, saving sector millions of rand from loss of production. On manufacturing, again, we already have a learning factory at the CSIR, where we're looking at advances in ICT-based applications that are of critical importance in driving productivity improvement in manufacturing in line with STI intervention. So we hope to enable small business to adapt and adopt some of these high technologies. And we want new thinking for new industries to be adopted and new thinking for matured industries to be considered. And hopefully we will play a very, very important role in addressing growth, productivity improvements, sustainability, and the current low number of successful and sustainable high-tech manufacturing startup companies that we have. And then we also have been working with the mining and mineral industry, which we know contributes significantly to South Africa's economy. And we would like to look at how we can address issues of increased costs in mining, declining grades, and the increased average depth of precious metal mining activities, which are some of the factors weighing heavily on the production profile of the main commodities. And as such industry moves forward, there will be a greater need to streamline these processes and improve recoveries and find innovative, new cost-efficient ways of extracting these commodities. So this initiative is up and running. We just want to scale it up. We also have identified circular economy. What you see here is just what we mean by circular economy. For starters, it is estimated that 50% of greenhouse gas emissions, 90% of water stress, and 90% of global biodiversity loss is attributed to the way we extract resources and processing. So this is a UNEP report. Circular economy approaches are also able to create new jobs and economic efficiencies. Without going to the detail, what we wanted to show you in this slide is how we can, using circular economy on the right-hand side, introduce new ways of, for instance, doing mining, where we use something which is called regenerative mining and renewable energy into the mining sector in order to mitigate against climate change. And then in agriculture, again, we can reduce wastage, minimize resource inputs, regenerative farming, unavoidable waste beneficiated. So we're looking at introducing these in the economy, and then disruptive 4IR technologies, remanufacturing in the manufacturing sector. And then in order to deal with the global carbon emissions from human settlements, how we can change in the resource use and wastage using modeling and urban agriculture, and then same thing at how we can use circular economy in mobility sector. Well, I did talk about projects that we are also introducing and we will continue to drive. We've identified the Hydrogen Valley or Platinum Valley. This is, I will show this now, an initiative that looks at introducing locally developed fuel cells in a valley from KZN in Durban and Richards Bay along the N3 corridor to Johannesburg, and then all the way into the mines in Limpopo. We've also been working with private sector partners, where we've launched with the PPC cement factory on the 25th of January 22, a technology that tries to capture carbon dioxide, which is one of the gases that we throw into the atmosphere, and combine this with green ammonia, which comes from green hydrogen to form fertilizer. And in doing this, we reduce CO2 from the flue gas emitted in the cement factory to assist reduce carbon tax payment. So we've piloted this, and we are now doing measurements to see whether we've been able to sequestrate CO2 in the plant. And if this is successful, it could also be deployed in a number of other plants in the chemical industry, as well as in the coal-fired power stations. Sasol working with us, looking at sustainable aviation fuels. And then there are a number of projects like in the Bukubai Special Economic Zone, where collaboration with Sasol is to establish 4 hubs for local and international intellectual property, production of ammonia and production of green hydrogen. We've also been working with Kucha Special Economic Zone in these areas. So I did indicate to you something which we call a hydrogen valley. So this would be looking at in Durban to convert the fuel for heavy and medium duty trucks via N3, and then use fuel cells. And then same thing with the port activities, where you've got these big vehicles. We're looking at the possibility of using fuel cells in the 2 harbors. And then, of course, in the Johannesburg area, we're looking at switching from gray hydrogen feedstock substitution for ethylene production, fuel and catalyst for iron and steel. So in other words, we're using green methods to produce iron and steel. We would like to have public buildings and buses being fitted with fuel cells. And then, of course, this valley will end up in Limpopo, in Mogalakwena, where we would like to work with private sector partners and others to change the mining trucks so that we can use fuel cell driven. In fact, there is a new gen truck that has already been converted from a diesel truck to hydrogen fuel cell, working in partnership with Anglo. And by doing this, we hope that we will increase the demand for hydrogen. And if we increase the demand, we can bring down the level of hydrogen costs to about $2.5 per kilogram, which is a competitive price for the uptake of some of these technologies that we have talked about. This is the technology that we talked about, where in an industrial plant, such as a cement factory, what we do is we look at whether we can capture carbon and utilize what comes out of the flue gas. So what we did in factory, cement factory, was to take a flue gas, so gas before it goes into the atmosphere, And then what we do is we take hydrogen and ammonia into this facility, and then chemical reaction happens to produce hydrogen and ammonia, as well as fertilizer and sulfuric acid. So this is a very promising technology that, as I've said, if it works, it will help us to reduce pollution. It will help us to deal with poor quality of air that creates sickness, death, and decreased economic productivity in these areas. And then, of course, we are meeting our constitutional rights and avoid litigation because of poor air quality in these areas where we've got these plants. I think it's exactly the same thing, just going into the details of this. On the hydrogen, what we have done, we've developed a roadmap, excuse me, that shows between now and 2024 what we hope to achieve in terms of the production of hydrogen using electrolysis, and then the production of a 1 megawatt piloted plant. And then we then scale this up in 2025, 2030, and we increase this even more, excuse me, in 2030 and 2040. And this just gives the detail of, once we are in this phase, what we hope to achieve. To have at least 100 buses and trucks powered by hydrogen by 2025, 20 forklifts converted to fuel cells, and 5 refueling stations along that valley that I showed, and then demonstration in power generation and stationary fuel cells in public buildings. And then we're scaling these things up in 2025-30, and then we even increase them more in 2030-2040. And we hope that we will start by looking at training and reskilling of individuals for making these products. And we would like to create about 20,000 jobs annually by 2030 and about 30,000 jobs annually by 2040. We've also looked at what we can do in the health area, and we are already, and as the members would know, been working on these surveillance capabilities where we identify, monitor variants circulating in South Africa and gather data on where this is clinical and epidemiological evidence suggesting health impact. This was done successfully during COVID, including the discovery of Omicron. But we are also investing in drug discovery, development therapeutics, medical devices, diagnostics, and the API manufacturing cluster. API stands for active pharmaceutical ingredients. Now we want to upscale these activities, and what we'd like to do at the moment is to see whether we can improve the amount of money that leaves the country when we buy these as imports, and hopefully create employment in South Africa. We also need to build strategic national competencies in these areas. We saw during COVID-19 how we ended up being at the end of the queue when it comes to vaccine because we didn't have this capability. So we also want to make sure that we are not only doing this for South Africa, but also for our partners in the continent, including having some capacities. And then we are worried about the vaccine import dependence in the continent. So to this effect, we have identified 4 platforms, as they are called. The mRNA platform, which here in Cape Town includes a number of partners that you see here that have given us the opportunity to develop vaccines using this mRNA technology hub. We are happy to say that over the last 18 months or so, we've been able to have a candidate vaccine that is in preclinical trial, and if that is successful, it will then go to clinical trials. And then we'll be able to train other countries and work with BioVac and Afrigen and Aspen on this Africa CDC. We've also identified other platforms that are shown here. And these platforms are the platforms that are responsible, or they are the ones that are used to develop most of the vaccines that we import. So we will then be doing some detailed work on how we can use these platforms to reduce the importation of vaccines. We've also been very active in our attempt to promote indigenous technology-based research work. And then we have a sub-team of African Medicines Platform in the department, and the team is constituted by African medicine practitioner organizations, science councils, universities, and government departments. Just as an example, two multi-herbal and 7 mono-herbal formulations were selected out of 20 medicines historically used in the treatment of respiratory conditions to try and see whether this could be used for COVID-19. 15 million was realigned from existing projects on other health conditions under this African medicine, nutraceuticals, and health infusions. And then we have 2 multi-herbal and 2 multi-herbal formulations that have progressed to clinical trial phase, and 1 has received a SAHPRA approval. So we really are making significant progress in working with the knowledge holders and these institutions you see on the left-hand side to take this traditional knowledge into the market. We are also, in South Africa, the current chair of the World Health Organization, AFO's Regional Expert Committee on African Medicines, and 18 million has been leveraged for phase 2 clinical trials from the Innovation Agency, and 1 million was leveraged to support agro-processing and manufacturing activities, and 1.7 million was leveraged to support the establishment of a committee to develop a legal framework for the inclusion of African medicines in the essential medicines list. It's very, very important. And then the impact of COVID-19 on African medicine practitioners and their participation in the EPR was concluded. So we continue to work in this area, and even this year we'll continue to have budgets that are going to support this. On innovation technology solutions for basic service delivery, we want to support the water resource management, waste management, and green and renewable energy solutions in sanitation technology. And we want to have science informing decisions that are going to be done in energy, sanitation, procurement, spatial planning, and so forth. For an example, if we say we want to have a just energy transition, and we look at the jobs that are created in Mpumalanga, if those coal-fired power stations are shut, what would be the impact of that on jobs and the livelihoods as an example? So this is the work that we do using science to inform decision. And then also we are trying to look at how we can accelerate the integration of innovation in the public sector, and we'll be continuously working with DPSA and other government departments on this. We also want to strengthen innovation capacity for the delivery of basic services in municipalities. This is a program that is maturing very well, so we'd like to continue this work. And then we also want to have policy modeling for local government to enable open collaboration in modeling public policies. I think I will skip this slide. This is just a slide that was just reminding the committee the work that we did during COVID, but this is now gone. And then we just want to give the committee a sense of what we mean by societal grand challenges. Over the years, we have invested hugely on our attempts to understand global change. We have Global Change Research Plan, and the principles of this plan is to adopt a systems approach to understanding how the earth works. And it recognizes South Africa's advantageous geographical location that acknowledges that we are surrounded by 3 oceans that influence the climate systems of the Southern African region. So these are the institutions that we support: the Applied Center for Climate and Earth System. We have a risk and vulnerability science centers in a number of universities. And then we have a South African Environmental Observation Network at the National Research Foundation, African Earth Observation Network, and then SOCO as well at the University of Cape Town. So just to give you a sense of who Access is, it's a virtual network of collaborating partners that include research entities and universities, and the program is focusing on understanding our health systems, as you can see the pictures on the right-hand side. And then there are a number of flagship programs that are being done by the center, including our contribution to the global bodies that are using data and our understanding in order to help make informed decisions globally. The environmental network is a comprehensive, sustained, coordinated, and responsive South African environmental observation network. And also it contributes to a number of global initiatives such as Geobiodiversity Observation Network, which is a global network as part of a group on Earth Observation, GEO, and then the ILTA, which is a long-term ecological research network internationally that observe the Earth system, and then we contribute to that. And then we have these risk and vulnerability centers that are located in historically disadvantaged institutions at Forte, Walter Sisulu, University of Limpopo, Kwakwa campus of the Free State, Salt Lake municipality. And what they do is they provide a special database system that is aimed at equipping decision makers with information on the impacts and risks associated with global change at the local level. So this is just how this is put together into a program that then drives our understanding of the Earth system, especially in our southern part. So we have 6 strategic institutional outcomes and 19 associated outcome indicators that we would like to be measured during the medium-term performance. And as we indicated, the 23-24 that we are presenting to you marks the last year of implementation of the 6th administration mandate and priorities. We then are implementing the DSI revised 2020-2025 strategic plan because of the white paper and the decade plan as new policy priorities. So just to then give you a sense of the impact statement, did at the beginning indicate that we'd like to have a transformed, inclusive and responsive and coherent national system of innovation. We want to invest in the human capabilities and skills for the economy and for development. We want to increase the knowledge and the innovation that comes out of the national system of innovation. And we want to use knowledge for revitalizing some of the existing industries, such as the ones I showed earlier on, and then to identify economic activities that could be stimulated by new research and development, industrial development. We would like to use knowledge for inclusive development, such as the programs we showed on IKS, but we've got living labs, for an example, and then we would like innovation to support the state as well. So the planned policy initiatives, therefore, that we'd like to do, because of this challenge of expanding and transforming our research enterprise, we are almost at the last stages of finalizing the transformation framework to expand transformation agenda in all strategic areas of our work through 10 key transformation dimensions. So we'll be able to come to you, Chair and honorable members, to share with you how we'd like to drive this in the next couple of years. We want to support grassroots innovators and support new entrants into the economy. Yesterday here in Cape Town, as we were preparing for the budget vote, there were about 4 young people who were indicating the support that the grassroots innovators have given them and how they are going to develop new enterprises as a result of the support that we provide through TIA. As I've indicated, modernize sectors of the economy and then continue to implement some of the priorities that I've shared with you earlier on of the white paper. We want to implement the new postgraduate funding policy, which provides full course of support for certain students. The students that are financially needy, students with disabilities, and the exceptional academic achievers. And we'll be supporting just over 7,000 honors, masters, and PhD students. And then we'll also be supporting the development of critical skills lists of the universities of technologies, as well as TVET graduates, working closely with our colleagues from the Department of Health. We hope to award about 3,200 research grants to establish an emerging researcher, particularly Black female researchers, to help increase the percentage of lecturers and senior lecturers who have PhDs. And then again, we've identified certain skills for the areas that we are working on that we need, and the skills for the future in areas such as the digital economy, space science, energy, nanotechnology, robotics, photonics. These are important areas that we need for the future of the country. We also want to continue to increase our research outputs and productivity and its world share of the global output. And then we also want to expand the rollout of the broadband infrastructure to TVET colleges and increase the available bandwidth capacity, because this is very, very important in the modern science and in the institutions. We would like to measure and track the number of commercial outputs that are as a result of support that we provide to our institutions, so we can see the number of new companies, the number of startups that are coming out of the research fund. And then we want to establish now an institute for indigenous knowledge-based innovations, so that we can really increase the impact of the examples that I showed earlier. We also want to use the Innovation Fund, which we have received from Treasury, 490 this year, 510 next year, and 569 the other year. And here, we would then like to harvest the knowledge and the IP and commercialize the South African technology innovations, as we've indicated. We'd like to participate in the development of master plans to support the modernization of the sectors in agriculture, oceans, economy, energy, mining, and health. And then we would like also to make sure that we support the flagship programs in the area of vaccines and hydrogen fuel cells. I think I've sort of mentioned this, but it would be just for emphasis, where we would like to use at the industrial ports for scaling up of clean hydrogen, deploying fuel cells at government buildings and critical infrastructure such as airports, rural formal and urban informal settlements, and then also to have research development and innovation included in the master plan program on medicinal cannabis. This is a program that we are already funding, and we're providing our contribution to the development of the cannabis industry. We also want to have, in line with the National Development Profile and Social Dynamics Department, hopes to expand the multi-tiered package to support commercialization of grassroots innovations, as I've indicated. We also want to facilitate the commercialization of this grassroots innovation and its access to publicly available intellectual property. So if you have a young startup or somebody with a from the grassroots who has an idea and they have to access knowledge from the universities, technology stations, and so forth, I would like to facilitate that, because this knowledge is funded with their public money. And then we want to have a deliberate focus on knowledge or IP related solutions that will enable and improve access to basic services, strengthen the capacity of the state in service delivery, and promote the inclusion of women, youth, and people living with disabilities on the areas that I have shown earlier. We also want to be deliberate in promoting the expansion of some of these piloted solutions in areas such as waste and water management, housing, sanitation, and energy. And then we'd like to make sure that there is support for locally developed technology development to increase the provision of services in health, in education, and infrastructure projects. So these are the output performance indicators that we have, 73 in total, and they are split into the programs of the DSI, where we have 22 in the socio-economic innovation partnerships, 17 in research development and support, 9 in international cooperation and resources, and then in technology innovation, 18, and then administration, only 7. Before I hand over to the Chief Financial Officer, I just wanted to share with the committee our work that we are doing in support of the district development model. So we've divided the contribution to the district development model into these 4 impact areas. The first one is what we call life-changing opportunities, and these include provision of skills, training, innovation, leadership skills, entrepreneurship support, digital skills, and incentive and support for startup companies and cooperatives. And then the support for unemployed youth, women, and youth innovation incentive schemes. And then there is impact area 2, where we look at economic competitiveness and recovery, where we look at local systems of innovation and production, circular economy, innovation for local economic development, and then innovation support of existing sectors. And then impact area 3 is the one where we would like to look at innovation to increase the access to basic services and infrastructure. And then the 4th area is where we look at research or innovation that's looking at societal problems, challenges, and decision support. So on the left-hand side, it shows the number of projects that we have in impact area 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we have 125 in all. And then this is shown in this spreadsheet, the pie graph as well. I know you will not be able to see this, but we're more than happy to leave this to yourself. And what you see on this graph is each dot that you see here is an initiative that we have in the various districts. So whenever the president says, I'm visiting District X, we then submit those initiatives that we are having into the Department of Cooperative Governance on what the innovation work that we're doing has in that area. We did talk about the fact that we would like to work closely with municipalities to demonstrate appropriate innovation technologies, decision support, and then innovation capacity and innovation measurements. We'd like to integrate innovation in municipal policy environment, and then we'd like to look at e-participation in policy modeling platforms in municipalities, and then we'd like to have dialogues, and then to monitor whether we're making progress in working with the municipal government. So may I then hand over to Mr. Robert Shaku, who is our CFO, and I'm happy, Robert, to drive the slides for you. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, DG, and morning, DG. Morning, Chairperson of the Select Committee. Morning, honorable members. Morning, the Deputy Minister, DSI colleagues. I'm going to share with you the allocation we have for 23-24, 24-25, and 25-26 that we will be using to to try to achieve the things that the DG had alluded to. For the next 3 years, we are allocated, for 23-24, we allocated 10 billion, 874 million, and which is divided in the following. Under administration, we've got 444 million. Technology innovation, we've got 2,568 million. ICR, we've got 149 million. Research, development, and support, we've got 6,446 million. Socioeconomic innovation partnerships, we've got 1,765,000,000. For 24-25, the total allocation is 10,523,000,000. Members will see that there's a reduction there. We were allocated 1.2 for space infrastructure hub, where we are going to be given 700 million for the current year and 400 million in the next year, hence the reduction. In terms of program allocation, for 24-25, we've got 359 million for administration, 2,307,000,000 for technology innovation, 156 million for ICR, 5,854,000,000 for research development and support, 1,845,000,000 for socio-economic innovation partnerships. For financial year 25-26, the department is allocated 10,100,000,000, and the reduction is the same. The space infrastructure hub is only for 2 years. So in terms of programs, we've got 375 million for administration, 1,957,000,000 for technology innovation, 163 million for ICR, 5,680,000,000 for RTS, 1,927,000,000 for socio-economic innovation partnerships. Next slide, please, DG. Next slide, please.
Same problem.
It's
where
stuck.
It's just, yeah, stuck. Let me try and go off and back again. I think it was this one. Hopefully it's going to work this time. No.
Yeah, if we can move to the next slide, thanks. In terms of percentage analysis, for administration, we've got 4%, technology innovation, we've got 21%, international cooperation and resources, we've got 2%, research development and support has got the lion's share for 54%, and socio-economic innovation partnerships, and it was allocated 19%. Next slide, please, DG. Okay, go up again. Go back again. Under economic classification. Another, yeah, thanks. Under economic classification, for 23-24, we were allocated 370 million for compensation of employees. Goods and services, we've got 207 million. Transfer and subsidies has got the lion's share of 10,285,000,000, and the payment for capital assets, it has got only 10,000. I mean 10 million, sorry, rather. And for 24-25, compensation of employees, we've got 386 million. Goods and services, 217 million. Transfers and subsidies, 9,909,000,000. Payment for capital assets, 10 million. And for 25-26, compensation of employees, we've got 403 million. Goods and services, 227 million. Transfers and subsidies, 9,463,000,000, and payment for capital assets, still 10 million. It only differs in terms of thousands. We've got 10,700,000 under that line item. Next slide. In terms of a percentage allocation, you will see that our transfers and subsidies have got the lion's share of the department's budget at 94.59%. And 3.4% is 41% is compensation, 1.91 is goods and services, and payment for capital assets, we only have 0.10%. Next slide, Prestige. You members will see that our budget, the largest part of it goes to transfers. We've got, as I indicated earlier, 94.6% of our budget goes to transfers. Only 5.4% is allocated to operations. Next slide, please. We are also sharing information in terms of the allocation to our entities. However, this allocation is only the parliamentary grant. We are transferring significant amount to our entities that includes contract funding, but we are sharing only the parliamentary grants. Under South African National Space Agency, which is SANSA, For 23-24, we have allocated 163 million. Technology Innovation Agency, 460 million. Academy of Science of South Africa, 33 million. National Research Foundation, 1 billion, 1 million. CSIR, 1 billion, 6 million. And Women Science Research Council, 322 million. For 24-25, SANSA was allocated 170 million. TIA was allocated 480. ASAF was allocated 35. NRF, 1 billion, 46 million. CSIR, 1 billion, 51 million. And HSRC, 336 million. The SANSA for 25-26, it is allocated 178 million. Technology Innovation Agencies, 502 million. Academy of Science of South Africa, 37 million. National Research Foundation, 1 billion, 92 million. And CSIR, 1 billion, 98 million. And HSRC, 351 million. Next slide, please, TG. In terms of percentage allocation, Technology Innovation Agency is allocated 15.4%, SANSA 5.5%, Academy of Science 1.1%, National Research 33.5%, CSIR 33.7%, and HSRC 10.8%. Next slide, please, TG. We are also sharing some of our key projects that we have allocated significant funding in the current year. We have shared Square Kilometer Array. Members will know the Square Kilometer Array is one of our biggest astronomy projects. For the current year, we are aiming to have additional 18 antennas to the MeerKAT and also install receivers on the 13 additional antennas. And also we are sharing the NICIS, which is National Integrated Cyber Infrastructure System. Here, the plan is to increase the total available broadband capacity by SANRAN and also increase data storage capacity through the RISA project. We are also planning to conduct a feasibility study to increase the computing capacity to 10 pflops in the current year, and also to support graduate master students in e-science through National e-science postgraduate teaching and training platform. And for South African research infrastructure, the plan is to establish 13 large research infrastructure projects across 5 scientific domains, and also to ensure that we implement our SARE project in the areas of earth and environment. In terms of allocation, SKA, it has got 1,709, NICIS 294 million, and SARE 899 million. Next slide, please, DG. And that will be the end, DG. Thank you. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Robert. So we hand over to yourself, Deputy Minister, if you're still around, if maybe you want to make some concluding remarks, and back to the chair. Thank you very much. I will stop sharing.
Thanks a lot, DG. Thanks for the detailed presentation of the APP, including the budget of the Department of Science and Innovation. This is the Department of Hope. It brings hope to South Africa that we can make it, and we have the capacity and the will to move forward and develop this country economically. Science, technology, innovation, research goes a very long way. It touches a lot of things. You cannot develop the economy of the country without having information on, research the details of things that need to be. We are adding quite a lot of, we are adding value to everything in this country, including even health, the research on TB. So your interventions are solving problems of health. Science and innovation will solve problems of health, they'll solve problems of unemployment. And yeah, in that way, honored members, this is the presentation from the department. I'll be waiting for hands to see if members want to comment and or ask questions or engage with the presentation. I'll give over to in this order. There's Noguzi Zola Ndongeni, Honorable Lutuli, followed by Baha. Ndongeni.
Thank you, Chair. Morning, Chair. Morning, members. Morning, DM and the department. Chair, I've got some, thank you about the presentation. And it makes us clear about other things that we don't understand. But I've got some few questions. On APP of the department on page 36, the DSI is working closely with the Department of Tourism on the National Astro-Tourism Strategy. This strategy will guide us on how to maximize the benefit of the investment made in tourism and astronomy to create more jobs, opportunities, and services. It should also increase public awareness of the need to preserve. Page 90 of the APP notes a service provider has been appointed to develop a national astro-tourism strategy in consultation with the key stakeholders, including the DSI, the Department of Tourism, and the Northern Cape Provincial Government. Can the department please provide an update on the success and challenges experienced by DSI while working closely with the Department of Tourism and the Northern Cape Provincial Government? Secondly, share the details of the appointed service provider in terms of expectations and responsibility, along with why such could not be fulfilled by one of the public partners. Third one, highlighted oversight. Please highlighted oversight needed linked to the mentioned National Astro-Tourism Strategy, which is the committee may undertake to assist the DSI to achieve the intended outcomes. The second one, Chair, on their APP page 38, despite the introduction of different incentive schemes and new policy and legislation, the NSI remains severely underfunded, with contribution from the private sector decreasing. Can the department elaborate on the gaps as identified by the DSI in policy and legislation, which are potential causing or enhancing the mentioned challenge linked to underfunded? And then please clarify who the large private sector funded are, who have decreased their contribution along the reason identified for decreasing in the funding. The last one, Chair, on page 38 of the APP, position South Africa as a vibrant hub for astronomy facilities and sciences, harnessing each geographical advantage of clear dark skies and radio silence in the Northern Cape. Can the department share the key risk factors which might cause South Africa to lose the mentioned advantages provided by the Northern Cape dark skies? And the please and highlighted oversight needed linked to the mentioned geographical advantage, which the committee may undertake to assist the DSI to achieve the intended outcomes. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chairperson. Thank you, Chairperson, and greetings to your good self and greetings to the department. Am I audible, Chairperson? Am I audible?
Yes, you are allowed.
Thank you so much.
You are allowed.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. Greetings to the department. Greetings to yourself, Chairperson, the DM, and my colleagues. Chairperson, I have a few questions. On page 31 of the APP, I would like the department to please elaborate on how the department is improving the special footprint of innovation to address rural and township exclusion. And can the department also elaborate on how the public entities falling under the DSI are existing in improving a special footprint in innovation and address rural and township exclusion. On page 8 of the APP, can the department also elaborate on how the department is ensuring the public understand and appreciate the work it does in the preceding a financial year by highlighting linked achievement in each province, and can they please elaborate on the work already done by the SAA-STA during the first month of 2023-2024, link in the National Science Engagement coordinating role. Lastly, Chairperson, can they please elaborate on the partnership initiated by the DSI between the SAA-STA and non-traditional NSI players? Thank you so much. I am done, Chairperson.
Yes, I thought we were still you had a hiccup. Honorable Bach.
Yes, thank you, Chairperson. Let me also welcome the presentation. Chair, I just have two questions. The one relates to slide 39, where it stated support the development of critical skills of UOT and TVET graduates. My question, Chairperson, related to that is, can you kindly elaborate on the successes and challenges experienced while monitoring these entities like your TVET colleges, TVET graduates during the mentioned experimental training? The last and the second question, Chairperson, is more related to the outbreak, the recent outbreak of cholera. I know that that might not be part of the presentation, or I might have missed it. I just want to get a sense as to, is there any role or anything that the department is doing in trying to get to interventions that would lessen the impact of cholera in our different communities, like we've seen somewhere in Pretoria, I think Hammanskraal, if I'm not mistaken. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thanks, Honorable Baha. Honorable Christians.
Thank you, Chairperson. I'm largely covered. I just want to know about the Department of Science and Innovations plans. Thus far, I know there are many plans on the table to roll out infrastructure and connectivity to rural areas, but we've now experienced, especially during load shedding, that areas such as the Northern Cape, that's extremely rural, places are far apart, that connectivity is a huge issue. And this is especially a problem when it comes to, for example, calling policemen out when there is an emergency, or calling an ambulance out when there is an emergency. So there's no connectivity to telephone lines, and people often find themselves in deep trouble because, we just can't get hold of services due to connectivity. So what is the department doing to mitigate this, especially in light of the load shedding problem that we are experiencing? What partnerships do they have with SAPS, for example, or the health department to see to it that these services get to the people on time and that people are not, are not left behind due to connectivity issues? That's all I have. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thanks, Honorable Christians. And I also would like to know, because I checked in your presentation to the portfolio committee, last month, April, you talked about the impact of COVID-19 on African medicines, practitioners, and their participation in epidemic preparedness and response, that they say something was concluded. Can you share that information with us? What was concluded? What values the African medicines, medicinal practitioners, are they adding any value to your research on epidemics? And when and how are you involving them? So if you could share this information with us, I think it would be much nicer. Moreover, there is something again on indigenous knowledges, So I'm dying really to get how far are you with this? Are they, Baha, is that your new hand or is it?
Oh, it's a legacy, Chair.
It's a legacy hand. Thank you. Let me give over to the DG. Is the DM still around? If he's not, let's give to the DG to respond. I thought maybe you'll say something before, but we are fine. DG, you may respond to the questions that you.
Chair, and thanks very much to honorable members. Just to prepare the DDGs, and then I'll come back and add if I feel that something is missing. So the questions from Honorable Lutuli, I am not so sure who is from Program 5. I know Dr. Mope is not with us. On the issues of how we improve spatial footprint of innovation. I'm more than happy to try that, but anybody from Program 5? And then Mr. Patel, the second question from Honorable Tuli around the public understanding of science and is there link to each of the provinces and perhaps the work that SASTA is doing or is doing. And then perhaps we can talk about the science centers and the work that we have SASTA coordinating that. And then the partnership SASTA with non-traditional, the work that the NGO program is supporting Katuto, Etupela, and those non-traditional players. Maybe we can say a few words about how we've identified these young graduates that have set up companies that are providing support to young people. So that's the 3 questions, but as I said, I just need to know who's from Program 5 for the first question. And then Honorable Ndongeni, again, Mr. Patel, the Astro-tourism strategy, what is its intention? The service provider that was appointed to develop the strategy, and then why did we get a service provider from outside and not use government entity, and then the purpose and the status of the oversight committee that we had when we were putting together the Astro-tourism strategy. And then the second question from Honorable Ndongeni was the fact that the NSI is underfunded. This is perhaps Program 5 again, the enhancing mechanism in the large private sector. As I say, I hope that we can get somebody from Program 5. If not, I'll try. And then the last one, Mr. Patel, is the risk factors in the rollout of the astro-tourism strategy and the role of the oversight committee. And then again, over critical skills in the universities of technology and TVET. And if we have able to elaborate on the successes and the experiences for these graduates. And then I don't know if there is somebody from program 2, Rakeshni, on the work that we're doing on African traditional medicines and COVID-19 preparedness, and adding any value in the way that we engage with the practitioners. Maybe Imran can say a few words, and then you can come in on the work that we're doing to support the commercialization of knowledge and how we engage with the traditional houses to engage with the work that we do. So Imran, I know that you sent a WhatsApp to say you were not sure about some of the questions. I've tried to clarify them. And is there anyone from program 5, DDG Zwane?
Morning, Kuchi. I am not aware if they.
Okay, I'll give a try to question 2 of Honorable Ndongeni. If Imran wants to add on the spatial footprint of innovation, maybe you can add that from your previous life, so to speak, after your questions, and then I'll try, if Rakeshni is not able to respond to the African medicines question, and then I'll also try and respond to Honorable Christian's question in the second part of Honorable Para's question on the outbreak of cholera. So let's start with you, Imran, and then see how we navigate here. Thank you. Network is not good. If the chair would allow you perhaps to switch your video off.
Okay.
It's not well. Switch off the video. As long as
right.
we've seen you.
All right.
Just show your face.
Great stuff. Am I more audible now?
Much better.
All right, great stuff. And thanks, DG. Just on let me start with the astro-tourism strategy. I can't offhand remember the name of the consultancy that did this strategy, but just some background. This was a joint project between ourselves and the Department of Tourism. And it needed a lot of data and information about the potential, some services that needed to be done to identify what are the potential facilities that can be used as part of this astro-tourism strategy, etc. And within the DSI, there's no capacity to do a strategy around tourism. We don't know the sector, etc. And within the Department of Tourism, they don't necessarily understand the astronomy. So it was useful to get an outsider. Again, we can always provide the amounts that it cost, etc. But the kind of detailed work that was done, the general view from both ourselves and the Department of Tourism was that it was a very valuable piece of work. The intention of the astro-tourism strategy is, in fact, to use our facilities, particularly in the Northern Cape region, but it's not only in the Northern Cape. There are other tourism-related facilities in other parts of the country, and there are a number of people from outside who are keen to come to South Africa to actually spend time under the stars and looking at what is happening in particularly the Northern Cape area. So the strategy is a medium-term strategy, medium to long-term strategy, and that includes how to attract people to the tourism sites, what we need to do to improve facilities that will make South Africa a more attractive destination for astro-tourism, etc. We can always provide more feedback on the content and the direction of the strategy, but it's been a very useful interaction between ourselves and Department of Tourism, and we've identified investments that each of us have to make in support of the tourism. So it's a very good example of government working together in support of this. In the case, my recollection of the work around the strategy is that it also included lots of engagements with local role players at the provincial level within districts where some of these astro-tourism facilities will be located, etc. So that's on the astro-tourism strategy. Around the risk, the question around the risk, I think that's a very, very important question, and it's something that we've been mindful of since the early days of the SKA and generally our astronomy ambitions. And the key mitigation measures that were taken was the passing of legislation that protects these astronomy areas as geographic advantage areas. So an act is in place, and as part of that act, there are procedures that have to be followed. Particularly in the case of SKA, it's not just the dark skies, but it's the fact that it's a very radio quiet area that needs to be protected. And so things like mining or lights, or, cell phone receptions, etc., all impact on the astronomy geographic advantage area. But we've put in place measures to be able to mitigate that from a legal perspective for people to get permission to undertake certain things. But we're also adopting a very developmental approach to these challenges. So we just don't say that, we need to keep it radio quiet, but we work with other role players like ICASA, etc., to look at alternative ways of achieving the same objectives, but without impacting on our skies. So from our assessment, it's part of our risk register. It's always there. At the moment, the way we've evaluated that the risk is being managed effectively, but we're just keeping an eye out on the risk. So we have no major concerns around that. And then let me move on to the questions around SASTA. And SASTA is the South African Agency for the Advancement of Science and Technology. It's been in place at the National Research Foundation for a while. We've done a major amendment of the NRF Act last year to empower SASTA to play a greater role in terms of science engagement. And so they're busy building up their capacity to do science engagement. And we particularly understand that this is an area that is important, public understanding of science, technology, and innovation. So SASTA is the key agency that does that. And we have a whole range of initiatives to do this kind of thing. It's not just, workshops, but we have things like the National Science Week. We have science centers. We work with a whole range of partners, traditional and non-traditional, private sector, schools, NGOs. The DG mentioned a few where these were NGOs that were set up by young people themselves, who are now going out to other young people to attract them. And so, for example, as part of National Science Week, we put out a call and we asked for proposals where we can provide funding support to assist with whatever materials or workshops, whatever. So SASTA is playing quite an important role in helping us with our science engagements. As a department, we'll be enhancing over the next few years the amount of budget that we direct to science engagement, and ensuring that our science engagement is not just focused to learners, but to a whole range of other stakeholders, whether it's adults, whether it's teachers, whether it's workers, whether it's business people, etc. We've got a science engagement strategy that defines what we call key target groups, 11 of them. And so the idea is that we want to accelerate our implementation of that science engagement strategy across all different types of stakeholders. So I hope I've answered the SASTA question. Then before Rakeshni comes in on the African traditional medicine, from the perspective of building the capability for African traditional medicine, you need some enablers. And so under the program that I'm responsible for, we have a very active Indigenous Knowledge Systems program. And as part of that, we do, for example, register Indigenous knowledge, which then can be protected, because once it's in the registration system, if we take things forward in terms of African traditional medicine, then the communities who have generated that intellectual property or Indigenous knowledge are not left behind. We're also doing engagements and training with African traditional medicine practitioners, using what the minister highlighted this morning as a vital principle of our democracy, and that is to ensure that we give proper credence to the recognition of prior learning. So we're doing that so that people can acquire accreditation for the knowledge that they have in terms of African traditional medicine. So that's in tandem to some of the work that's being done by my colleagues in program 2 around commercialization of African traditional medicine. And then DG around the spatial footprint, which there's no one from program 2 here. There's a whole lot of efforts that we do to ensure that we have our activities can reach out to all of the 9 provinces and as far as possible to as many districts as possible. So we have initiatives like the MLab, we set up facilities in the Northern Cape and Kimberley, in addition to the one facility in Gauteng. We've set up living labs recently. These are working in close contact with local players, non-governmental organizations, to create spaces where young people can come in and try new technologies. Then we have our research agencies, whether it's the CSR or the HSRC or the SANZA, who also have community-based projects, some big, some small, it depends. And all of this is part of ensuring that science and technology reaches as far as possible. We are working, the colleagues in program 5 are working on a database, a GIS system, which will allow the select committee and the portfolio other stakeholders to be able to get a picture of what is existing. That's currently under development, and hopefully in this current financial year, we'll be able to provide people with much more detailed information about some of our initiatives. DJ, I think I've covered most of the questions. I hope I was audible throughout. Thanks.
Anything, Imran, on the critical skills EOT TVET graduates?
Yeah, what we're doing around, from our perspective, we're not responsible for general skills. Our focus is on those areas that have been identified in the decadal plan as crucial skills areas, and where we then require some of the capabilities through our internship programs or through other interventions. We try to enhance it. So, examples are in the hydrogen fuel cell space. There's a whole lot of skills that are required, not only high-level skills. And then we would work, and we're having deepening our partnership on a daily basis with the higher education, the PSET system, with the CITAs and the TVET colleges, etc., to be able to enhance those skills. So at the moment, there are efforts underway to be able to do this around the critical skills that impact on our ability to achieve our own knowledge economy objectives.
Yeah, thanks very much, Imran. Just a few additions. I see Rakeshni is not here. I just want to enhance the response that you made on the first question by Honorable Ndongeni. The need to develop Astro strategy was based on the fact that we have these scientific and astronomy facilities in South Africa. As the committee would know, we've got a big telescope in Sutherland, the Southern African Large Telescope, which is an optical telescope. And then we have, of course, in Carnarvon, the Meerkat 64 Tishrei at the moment, with the International Council intending to increase those dishes in the next 7-8 years to about 130 something odd dishes, to make about 200 dishes. So it will be a very, very big colony of these dishes that are looking at the sky to understand and research the universe. So we then ask ourselves, can we take advantage of hosting these facilities to link tourists who come to South Africa and or South Africans who may like to know more about these facilities without interfering with the research that is being done. It's a concept almost similar to that one in Maboneng in Krugersdorp by the Gauteng provincial government on people visiting the sites where we've got fossils. And then there are tourism activities around sending young people, the general public, about what are these human origins that are found, fossils that are being found there. So we then approached the Department of Tourism, and we approached the provincial government also, and they both agreed that this is a good idea. And then we then appointed a consultant as agreed by the committee that involved these three departments and the South African Radio Astronomy and the NRF on how do we do this, including doing benchmark studies, costing of the astrotourism strategy. And at this point in time, we are also proposing the establishment of a science visitor center in Carnarvon, and that has now been completed, and we are now trying to raise funds for this. In Sutherland, we already have a center where if you visit Sutherland, you can stay there for the night, and then of course there's a whole route around that. So that's really what we're trying to do at this point in time. So as Mr. Patel has indicated, we don't have the name of the service provider now, but we'd be more than happy through you, Chair, to provide that to the committee. And the reason is, as we said, we don't have the expertise to understand how to develop tourism strategies. So this was a decision of the committee. And then I want to complete the third part of the Honorable Ndongeni's question around the NSI is underfunded. What we do every year is we conduct a research and development strategy that conducts a survey of how much money is being spent by the university. So we send them questionnaires and science councils as well as the private sector. So what these studies have shown is that since the COVID and even before COVID, we are seeing a decline in the private sector's contribution to we are seeing Honorable Chair.
Sorry about that. I don't know who's.
Yeah, somebody accidentally unmuted. So what we have seen, therefore, in the last couple of years is a decline of investment from the private sector. And we are then trying to develop a strategy on how we can re-engage the private sector. And in fact, at this point in time, we have a well-defined strategy of how to engage them into funding research and development. I did mention, for instance, that in modernizing mining, we have the Mineral Council, which is an industry body that has a number of mining companies that have agreed to put for every, I think at the moment is the other way around. We fund 2/3, they're funding 1/3, and we'd like to encourage them to fund a little bit more. So it's the private sector companies in total, and we are concerned about some of them that are large companies. If they don't do research, they will not be competitive. So, but that's where the idea of trying to attract large private sector funding. We think with the decadal plan and the priorities that we've shared with you in health and in energy, as well as the modernization of the 3 sectors that we've talked about, we will continue to get more private sector funding, including private sector funding for taking innovations into the marketplace. We've been very successful in working with a number of private sector companies, the PIC, for an example. ANZA Capital is one of the private funders, SASME Fund, which is funded by Discovery. So there are pockets of areas where the private sector is investing, but we just feel it's not enough when we do the benchmark with other companies. We've also looked at encouraging government to continue with the research and development tax incentive as a way, again, of funding research by the private sector. And then if I come to add on the second question of improving spatial footprint of innovation in rural areas, as well as in other areas, there are 2 main programs over and above what Imran has talked about. Through the Technology Innovations Agency, we also have a range of technology stations that are located in almost each and every province, so to speak. And we are looking, they are the sources of a place to go to. And then, of course, we try and make sure that we create awareness for grassroots innovators from the different parts of the country. And then thirdly, we've already shown through the DDM model that we showed with you, the number of initiatives that we have. And as Imran has said, we are still developing a detailed GIS system to give you the actual coordinates of where these projects are. And then fourthly, we're also working fairly closely with municipalities in order to develop the capacity to innovate within the provinces and at municipal level. So I think we're doing that. And then I want to say to Honorable Bacher, we're not doing anything on cholera at this point in time because the solutions to cholera challenges is known. Sorry to sound like one is not sensitive to this, because we would only do research if there was a strain of cholera that is not known and that for which the treatment does not exist. So at this point in time, we haven't thought that it's necessary for ourselves to intervene on the challenges, because our understanding of the challenges is perhaps infrastructure and the maintenance of those issues. I'm speaking under correction, but the point is, it's not a new strain that requires research to be done and innovation for that matter. So is the response to Honorable Christians. We are not having a mandate to roll out broadband broadly for society. We have a mandate to roll out broadband for post-school education and training institutions, so universities, science councils, as well as we have indicated in the presentation, the technical and vocational education and training institutions, because they need broadband to do the work that they need to do. However, we are working fairly closely with the Department of Communication and Digital Technologies, whose mandate is to provide broadband generally in the country, on how we can contribute to the universal access to broadband. I indicated the satellite strategy that we are developing with them, a communication satellite that would then enable communication to happen anywhere if you have a device to pick up the signal from the cell phone. So these are medium to long term, so they're not immediate, if you like, solutions of the rollout of the broadband. So again, we would be more than happy to think of solutions that can be provided perhaps in some of the semi-rural areas to assist maybe for a health emergency and and police emergencies. It's something that we would be more than happy to do, and we'll have to speak to the agencies that we fund, in particular the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, and or maybe even the Space Agency. Maybe they would be able to contribute. And then I think the last contribution, just also to add on to the question that was asked by the chair, is that during, maybe respond in three parts. The first one is that we have an indigenous knowledge system strategy, which is trying to do three things. One is to try and develop indigenous knowledge as a knowledge system. And therefore, we are working with traditional leaders and houses to help us to identify knowledge holders and to encourage knowledge holders to document their knowledge in what we call indigenous knowledge system documentation centers. And these are in all provinces. And the idea there is that if this knowledge is codified and it's registered there and it belongs to which community, should anyone make a discovery out of that knowledge, then they would be appropriately accredited and or get the benefits of the commercialization of that knowledge. So that's what we do. And then the second one is to develop the indigenous knowledge system as a knowledge system where at the University of Northwest and the University of Venda, Limpopo, I'm not sure, we're developing bachelor's degree on indigenous knowledge systems. In fact, we now have a number of graduates that have graduated. And then the third aspect is to develop African traditional medicine institutes in a number of universities, as we showed earlier on, Free State, University of KwaZulu-Natal, Limpopo, and others. There we then try and look at promise knowledge or knowledge that indigenous knowledge holders say, I have something that can treat HIV and AIDS. And then we work with that traditional holder of knowledge to try and look at what are the ingredients that are responsible for the treatment that he has. We help them to develop also the accreditation system with the South African Health Products Regulatory Authority, because if you don't have the product approved by them, sometimes you'll not be able to put them on the shelves and or to have them prescribed in the health sector. So that's what we do. So, and then coming back to the second part of your question, which was during COVID, what did we do? So what happened was that we reached out therefore to this community of indigenous knowledge holders whom we've been working with for some time, and asked if any one of them had ideas on how to treat COVID and or contribute to COVID. And then a number of them came and said, yeah, this is something that we can do. And then, as I've said, through the same process of trying to select or finding the active ingredient on these. And I think, as I've indicated, one of the candidate work is approved by SAPRA, so we'll then take it to the next step, and then we're able to get the other one to continue to look at further work that is being done. I think I'm aware of this because the lady who's doing this called me recently on some of the challenges that they have. So, but they've got a patent. They're very, very close to taking this thing to market as well. And then the last part of the question that you've asked, Chair, is that at the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, we support them through what we call Bio Manufacturing Industry Development Center, where if they have, say, a tea that they have developed, and they would like to look at the stability of the tea, or they have any product, and then they would go to the CSR, and we fund the CSR to then support these small entrepreneurs or startup companies or knowledge holders that want to take their knowledge into the marketplace. So I hope I've been able to provide a bit more detail on all of the other ones that Mr. Patel could not provide responses to. Thank you very much, Chair. I am not sure if the DM is still around. Thank you.
Thanks for the detail in the answers. Honorable Bacha, your hand is up.
Sorry, Chair, I've dropped it.
No, you're welcome. These were the answers given. Are they having a meeting around 12 o'clock? Members will be leaving for the buses. Is the DM in the meeting? It's not there. It's not back. I think he's gone to his other meeting with students. Honorable member, I think we are at the end of our meeting. Let me take this opportunity to thank everybody. Or let me, before I do that, is there Noltando?
There are 2 sets of minutes, Chair.
That's what I get. Yeah. Let me release the DG and the department, everybody. So the committee will remain doing our internal arrangements. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Noltando, may you flag the minutes, copy of the minutes? So there's no time even to engage you. Minutes of the 10th of May. They are the minutes, honorable members, can see them, attendance. Yeah, that the minutes, honorable members. Any comment? If none, any move of adoption of this minutes as a true reflection of the recording of our meeting of the 10th of May. Any mover?
Ndongeni moves the chair.
Ndongeni moves. Thank you, Ndongeni. Any seconder?
Bacha seconds, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Bachaza. Another set, Honorable Bacha, sorry. Why do I call you Bachaza? Sorry. Another set of minutes. This minutes of Wednesday, the 17th. The attendance. The minutes, honorable members. Any comment or matters arising from this? In the absence of any, is there any move for adoption of the minutes?
Ndongeni chair.
Ndongeni moves for adoption. Any seconder?
Baha seconds, Chair.
Thanks, Honorable Baha. This is the end of our meeting. But as usual, if members have issues that they need to engage the department with, they can do that in writing through Unol Tando, our committee secretary. Let me take this opportunity to say thank you to all the members who were in this meeting. And Baya Danki, this meeting is urgent. Or do we have a report that needs to be adopted in the House? Noltan, do we have any?
Not for today, Chair, for next week.
Okay, all right, thanks. All right, this meeting is adjourned.